Hello, my name's Elise Lonsdale and I'm doing another one of the exercises or speech projects from the Competent Communicator series in Toastmasters. This is what we now call the Classic series. For this particular speech 9, which is Persuade with Power, I'm going to be talking about something that is very dear to me and therefore something I feel that I can persuade the audience into. And that is, because of my own vision disability, I take the ability to use the computer with a keyboard pretty much for granted. I became acutely aware of the fact that many people who are new to vision impairment struggle with the keyboard. It was always my goal to do at least one Toastmasters manual completely online. So tomorrow morning I'll go online and present my speech to a worldwide audience via the Ablaze Toastmasters Club. And I hope to do that with my speech entitled 101 Keys, Dead Intimate. Ladies and gentlemen, how many of you can touch type? I can't see a show of hands, but I'm going to assume that some of you can and some of you can't. Touch typing is really important, and I had no idea how important that was going to be when I was young at school and my teacher said to me, it's a skill. It was a long way before the computer revolution, and boy, if she only knew the favour she did myself and many other people at the time. Being vision impaired, I take my usage of the keyboard for granted. I, along with many others, use the keyboard as a substitute for the mouse or visual pointing device, the mouse pointer on the screen, given the fact that sometimes a little white pointer against a white background is virtually impossible to see. Back in the 90s, we moved from a command line interface, for example DOS, into Windows. The Mac had had a graphical user interface years before, of course, and of course people started to point and shoot and use their intuition to navigate their computer and computer programs. But what of people who are losing their eyesight in their older years? People are living longer, people are starting to experience age-related sight loss, for example, with cataract, and the most common cause of age-related sight loss in both Australia and New Zealand, and I guess many other countries around the world, is AMD, or age-related macular degeneration. In my role as an assistive technologist, I have to assist people who are blind or losing their vision to use the computer with assistive technology. But what good is all that technology if you can't literally drive the computer? What good is a car to you if you don't have command of the steering wheel? Sure, you can drive in a straight line, you can stop and start and perhaps even change gears, but what happens when you come to the first bend in the road? You could crash and burn. The way that the people who without sight use the computer is obviously with a keyboard, as I've already said. And I see this all the time where people have learnt, when they can see, just to look down at the keys and do a 2-finger touch typing job, and it can be fast and almost efficient. But what happens when their sight starts to diminish? This I'm holding up at the moment is a high contrasting large print keyboard, and that can serve for a while, and sometimes that's all people need. But to be able to find those letters by putting your fingers on the F and the J, for example, which has that little notch, you might want to look down at your keyboards now, and then to be able to expand out to D, S, A on the left hand, and K, L and semicolon on the right hand, is for something that gives you a lot of power and a lot of control over the computer. So therefore, traditionally, people have learnt the home row keys, and then they've learnt other keys and been able to type small words. I myself have developed what I call the Symmetrical keyboarding program, where I teach people to locate using the little notches on the F and the J, and then dropping their second finger onto the D and the K, and the third finger on, or the ring finger rather, onto the S, the L, and the pinky onto the A and the semicolon. Then I teach them how to expand out to type the J, G and the H. and within about 20 minutes people have been able to type accurately with the correct fingering the home row of keys. Just recently I assisted somebody to type the full keyboard in under 2 hours, again with the correct fingering. Repetition is the name of the game, so unfortunately I can't get back there as often as I would like to this particular person, but nonetheless they are practicing as I get nearly daily reports. Why is this important? People often learn to touch type, but they often forget about the modifier keys. The modifier keys are the keys like Alt, Windows, Control and Shift, or if you're on a Mac, Command, Option, Control and Shift. And the reason they've called modifier keys is because if you press one down, for example, if you go Command S, you'll actually perform an action. Rather than typing the word or the letter S, you'll actually start the procedure to save a file if you're in a word processor like Word or WordPerfect.
Green.
If you're in the email, most of the common email programs like Outlook, if you hold the Alt key down and strike the letter S and you're in the mail composition window, you will send an email. They're called modifier keys because they change or modify the behavior of another key. Usually the primary key is, say, the S, and we probably know about Command or Control C and Control V to copy and paste respectively. Rather than typing the letter V or the letter C, we hold another key down to modify that primary key's behavior. Even sighted secretaries often report that being able to control a computer with a keyboard is far more preferable than doing so with a mouse, because it means they don't actually have to take their hands off the keyboard to find the mouse and maneuver it into position just to bold some text, to save a file or to do an indent. This is quite powerful. So if you are experiencing sight loss, or you know somebody who is, or if you just want to take a precaution and make sure that you have a quality of life in your latter years, consider taking up a keyboarding class, a touch typing class or a keyboarding class. We used to call these keyboards the 101 keyboard because it used to have 101 keys. The function keys, the main group of keys, the enhanced keypad or extended keypad, and the numeric keypad. So I say to people, particularly if they're losing their sight, rather than looking, use your hands, find the keys, find the main group of keys. Use your hands to find the arrow keys and across to the numeric keypad. There's 101 keys all vying for your love and affection. Get intimate with them. Madam Toastmaster.